people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 38 of Apollo Justice. Last time, we were doing some more, we finished up the investigation portion, the first one of this case, and actually the final regular one of the game now that I think about it. And then, we basically went to court, we started cross-examining Sparks Bushel, and now we're calling him out for not knowing a yellow envelope from a red envelope. Unfortunately, no, but her forehead. It's easy to mistake the color of an envelope.
I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already, 7 years ago. Well, Mr. Bushel?
I can explain that. Drew, right? He wanted to get that letter in an envelope, pronto. Get it out of my sight! Get it out of the side of my beady eyes, right? Because I see all. I absorb souls and chow on them like honeysuckles in the morning. So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away.
And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim? That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. That's impossible!
Ach, I like your expression, so full of confidence.
It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope, with the assistance of a forensic scientist.
What?
Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Misham.
Ow!
Why would he address a letter to himself? What was a suicide note to himself?
He wanted to be poetic. I've been scooped. And CzarThwomp has to cough.
Order, order, order! Mr. Bushel, can you explain this to the court?
Oh, my. How could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots. End quote.
I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Bushel!
Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in the envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something.
His desk drawer?
Yes, a stamp! A so-called postage stamp. End quote.
A stamp? Whatever for?
Well, the mail's lit. What else? And then, yes, I think I saw him put it in this letterbox. Yes, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box.
Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with this case.
Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if it were a suicide note. What a story. Star writes suicide note in front of a reporter. Falls. End quote.
As I was saying, that's nothing to do with this case. That said, yes, Your Honor? It makes me wonder about the contents of this red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money.
So this was from 7 years ago, sir. So, am I finished? Am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing. And to start slashing arms off some of the corpses in my basement.
I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to everyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face.
Ah, come on! Attorney has active imagination, little else. End quote.
You know something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is all about. Judge has active imagination. End quote. Please, continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story.
Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually. Okay, this is the one, I believe this is the one where we're gonna actually get to use Apollo's bracelet on him. Yeah, the ultimate terror. Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up for the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview. End quote. The story concerns a certain case from 7 years ago. End quote. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare.
So you're trying to go to press with this story. That's how you got your interview. Blackmail?
Well, yes. And also threatening his life. No. I wasn't exactly black, or I'm not.
Something wrong, Mr. Bushel?
Look, this is my story, my tidbit. Journal's info is livelihood. End quote.
I see.
While you have me chatting away in here, what's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? What if that damn Lada Hart comes after me? I can't threaten her again! She probably has the iron knuckles this time! The brass knuckles! They could be going to press while I'm going to waste!
The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushel. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. A certain case, 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago?!
Sorry. What's wrong with my throat as of lately? Yeah. Okay, come on. Ah, come on!
It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous.
I wonder what the story he's talking about is. It must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that.
Well, they probably won't drag me Drew Misham out of hiding. I wonder, maybe it's something to do with Mr. Misham's art.
Okay. Sorry, I actually skipped it. Okay. Now, you gotta go down to the pits. Wait for him to start swaying. That's right, this is what we have to perceive. Drew, this guy in his sweaty pits.
Sweat much, Mr. Brushel?
Yeah, well, yes! Okay, this is the most fitting for the freaking hellscape! Look at it! Look at it! Actually, no, this is probably even more fitting for this than the other one I had. Just look at that sprite. Look at it! Just look at it! It's disturbing!
A man can't help his glands, you know.
Really, Apollo, don't go being prejudiced against people with hyperhidrosis. Yes, I have hyperhidrosis, which basically entails my hands and feet sweat profusely. In fact, a lot of people have to use lotion to basically keep their hands moist. Me, I have to actually put on a little bit of rubbing alcohol on my hands just to dry them out a little.
It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets.
Ah!
You're hiding something about his talent!
What? That's ridiculous.
Evidence time! Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lay. It just so happens I sent the talent mentioned in this letter, and damn, the thing is going.
Ah, slow down!
I can't help but wonder what the court's supposed to conclude from this evidence.
Oh!
That you made a horrible mistake. Man burned bridge, forget to cross first. End quote.
I'll try that again. All I have to do is
Okay. Oh, what is it with this leg?
This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first is that it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there was another painting in the studio which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which is just a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries.
Oh! My gang can handle Sparks Brushel.
That is all, Your Honor.
Everyone, please! Everyone! Can we keep this private? Please? This is my story, my scoop!
I'll kill you all for it!
Forgery, that's a serious crime.
Drew Misham is known as an artist these days, but there are rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back.
Another art, meaning forgery?
Drew Misham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. A fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover.
Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about...
Exactly. I'm talking about forging evidence. The rumors started circulating 7 years ago.
7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for...
Exactly. Forged evidence at tidy profit. End quote.
Order! Why? It's like our victim was living a double life. This is my chance! So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we'd know nothing about.
This is my first time hearing of this criminal word. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conduct our investigation.
But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of something illegal activity here.
But there's no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simply from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, the only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews.
Mr. Brushel, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen.
What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you can set an elephant on it. End quote. Just like how I stood Astique the elephant on the head of one of my enemies. Reporter blackmails circus. Blackmails circus animal tamer into disposing of enemies. What's wrong with me?
In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in the studio from the recap, this trial is over.
Polly, what's he talking about?
The cross-examination showed Mr. Brussel didn't have the reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera, that's what. This next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Brussel, your testimony, please.
The only other person in that studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She admitted as such herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left the studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Aw, shucks. You really think so?
I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination. Right! I still have one trump card left to play. I won't let this trial end until I use it.
Okay. Okay. There we go.
This is the only link between the studio and the outside world. Letterbox. What did Mr. Marshall just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter.
Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true.
Furthermore, he went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Oh, but that was the very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night the yellow envelope disappeared.
Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope that has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing.
Huh? He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if he did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me. Very well then. The witness will add this to his testimony.
You got it. I still think this fails to change anything her forehead.
I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for.
Okay. What the heck's happening? Okay, I'm saving the game.
Your Honor, what do you think about the witness's statement? I'm not sure to follow you. It's clearly contradicts the, I thought. You don't sound very sure, Mr. Justice. Objection overruled. I didn't think that one man went to the judge. Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio, and you were hiding that fact from us.
Yes, well, actually, I don't argue the possibility that the letter disappeared from the studio. But her forehead, isn't there a much more serious question before us?
Right, how Mr. Misham was poisoned, I know. But Mr. Brush's testimony has changed, which means the fact of the case have too. And what he's told us means something entirely different now. I'm starting to think.
Yes, it's the stamp! It's obviously the stamp, yet we can't present the stamp!
Let's keep thinking, Polly.
Well, we're getting a guilty. First one of the playthrough! Hooray!
That's enough. I see no need to further prolong this trial. The defense's case is insufficient to overturn the prosecution's claims. This court finds the defendant, Drew Misham.
But yeah, this is one thing I always found funny. The fact that basically they're like, this is the jurist system, yet the judge is going on giving a verdict.
The defendant will surrender herself to the court's care to undergo a regular trial at the High Court within a month's time. Court is adjourned.
Wait, didn't I actually get guilty in the first case? Save point. Yes. Come on, come on. I know it's the stamp! What can I present to you people? Oh, I swear, what the heck's going on? What the heck's going on? Oh, I swear. Hey. Come on, come on. Yeah, you get. This is the guilty episode. Guilty, 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 guilty. Do we have to present this?
You said clearly, as though it was obvious. But this claim that the defendant poisoned the victim is merely conjecture.
Ah, yes, well, you see, in my business, it's all about making those ridiculous things sound right. A bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess this is more of a case of ridiculous journalist sounds wrong, end quote.
The court is forced to agree with you. Please refrain from the wild conjecture.
Understood loud and clear.
If only I could believe that.
What do you think, Polly? Everything he says seems so not flawed.
Well, that's kind of what you want from a testimony, really. I need to keep my eye out for what matters. How and why was Drew Misham killed? But if that copy didn't kill him, I need to find what did and prove it.
I know it's the freaking stamp! The stamp he used! The stamp! The stamp! Okay.
You sure about that?
Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. It's my whole murdering stick, remember?
Why are those candies might have been poisoned?
Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room, and no mint residue was found.
It was a long shot anyways.
Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate the drink or otherwise suggested something other than coffee?
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, possibility's there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Not yet. Possibly he's gonna cut it. Not now. Mr. Misham just let poison be a root under the coffee.
Yes, you can prove it.
Proof is possible. Here goes nothing.
You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof ahead, not possibilities.
Of course, and Brusquer Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof.
What did you say?
I have proof of the disappearing envelope.
I saw him write a letter, I did.
Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume.
Of
course, which means that envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp.
Oh!
As we know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. And in order to use that glue, you have to wet it. By licking the stamp!
Or using a sponge? This is why you have a stamp sponge. No one was talking to actually lick stamps in this day and age. Yes, a paper towel.
If you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all.
Okay, so he licked that stamp. But wait! How does that explain the autoquinine on the rim of the coffee mug?
If he licked the back of a poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing. It was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself. Order, order, order! But that doesn't recall if you would. Arquin needed selective poison, yes? Poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But his time was up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. You absolutely had, Mr. Bushel? Uh-oh, his nose has been getting a little set.
As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But, I don't seem to remember finding one.
Maybe he just run out.
Incidentally, we searched his desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps. Not a single one.
That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible.
Good shot, good shot. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place.
Well, let's hear what the defenses say anyways. Where's your evidence that proves of the existence of a poison stamp? Well, that certainly is a cute little frame, and by little, I mean really little. I mean about as little as you. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself.
I noticed that too during my inspection, so fact.
Oh, apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Artequinine residue!
What? Why wasn't I told about this?
The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most.
You aren't saying.
Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order, order, order! The poison stamp was in this frame.
Impossible!
But Brusquer Gavin,
why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. Can I say something? I had a thought, see?
What, Mr. Bushel? Please stop cheering around like that.
The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too. End quote.
So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him?
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gavin song lyrics, please.
Finally, something we agree on!
The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense! Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one.
Oh, I disagree.
Come again?
Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Misham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail? Now, if you wanted to kill someone who you couldn't meet, but you knew read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon.
Ridiculous! Where's your proof? I want proof! Show us evidence that his poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon.
I might not have evidence, per se, but things are finally going to come together.
What is it, Polly? Your fists are trembling.
I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Misham was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how this someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages of the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor.
In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, gasp, end quote.
Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter does?
He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox.
50 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clocks are ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath, and the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system.
Such a splendid imagination you have, her forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So, this poison stamp was inside the envelope from 7 years ago, yeah? Is that what you would have had? Is that what you would have us believe, really?
Well...
It's a bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? About her justice's size, I'd wager. A poison stamp in this envelope. A stamp that then becomes a murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence?
Well...
It was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter!
And your answer is silent. I see, very well. I move to...
It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein Club here.
Sorry.
Emma!
Yeah, Emma apparently doing a Kristoff voice, apparently.
Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression? Do I sound like him?
Don't quit your day job.
Don't you have a crime scene to be looking at, the Fraulein detective?
Someone had to come dig you out of all the mess you're making of this case.
Mess?
You know, none of this would have happened if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in the envelope. Easy.
Care to explain yourself, Fraulein detective?
Play at me all you want, but science is on my side.
Yeah, and the fangirls are on mine. Let's see who wins. You and your science, or me and my raving fangirls. But I warn you, Fraulein detective, I've seen them kill a bear once.
It's all in the residue, right?
That's right! The poison detection spray! Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court.
Okay. Spray, come on. What is it with this document? Okay, there we go.
Well, would you look at that?
No mistaking it. That's artequinine residue.
I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past! Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last!
Absolutely outrageous. Tell me fine. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago?
Well,
There's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Misham figured it out.
Figured what out?
He realized that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp.
And put his decisive evidence in a frame. Oh, you're still here?
Can I make a statement here? On the record. I, Spark Razor Toothbrush, claim this scoop is mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letters. End quote. Now, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay. End quote.
Order! I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp is taken straight to afterlife. End quote.
I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge.
I see no need for further debate on this matter. Sender out that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant.
Polly, I think we just won.
Very well. This court finds the defendant.
You aren't in charge of the verdict here, Judge. The jury is. Is this the bright system of our future of our legal system?
Prosecutor Gavin?
A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets for Gavin shows are invalid after 2 weeks.
But it doesn't make sense any other way.
It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction here for its claim.
Contradiction?
A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did?
Emma, explain that. He must have realized it was poison.
Then lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sent a trap and put a stamp in the frame. I do not debate this, but then begins the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the night of his murder?
Oh!
Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot? He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot? You expect us to believe he's spraying this trap on himself?
Oh! Well, I admit this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall foul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years.
But Polly,
I don't think we're winning anymore.
I'm glad we are all back to the real world now. Welcome back to reality! We've been waiting for you!
Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in the envelope?
The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
What about the artequinine residue, huh?
Oh, I agree, that does seem to be artequin residue. But her forehead, it's only no stamp.
Yeah, but it's square and small!
Even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Misham never would have used it. That is all.
I believe we've come to a conclusion. Again.
I think now would be a good time to end the episode off. Anyways, I really appreciate that you sticking to watch that episode. You're going to go back to the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do as they want. But I'll see you next time. Bye.